Hello and welcome to the Shiny New Object podcast. This is a podcast about the future of marketing. And every week I have the pleasure and the privilege to interview someone impressive, exciting, influential from the industry. And this week is no different. I have Manisha Seewal, who is Group CMO for Carro. And we were introduced by the lovely team at the Future conference that is running on the 16th and 17th of October in Singapore. If you'd like to find out more about Manisha and the other speakers, that's futr.today. So an incredible lineup, and I'm lucky enough to be interviewing a few of the speakers in the run-up to that event. And Manisha, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tom, for having me.
So for the audience that is primarily UK and US, could you explain to the listeners what Carro is and what your role is for the business?
Certainly. So Carro is a Singapore-based tech startup. We are a 3.5-year young company, and we are already Southeast Asia's largest car marketplace. So we started the operations in 2015. Our business is primarily, it's a B2B, it's a business to business. We enable small car dealerships to improve their revenue by connecting them with our platform where live bidding and live auction of car happens. So whether you're an end customer, you could put your car there. If you are a dealer, you could put your car there, and our platform connects this very fragmented market in Asia, in not only improving the movement of cars, matching the demand and supply, but in certain markets, we also provide financing, where we enable these small dealerships to boost their revenue a lot more than they have done in the past. So that is pretty much what Carro does. And I was just sharing with you earlier, even though we are a 3.5-year-old company, we are already established in 4 markets now in Southeast Asia. So as of yesterday, we've opened our operations in Malaysia as well. So we now operate in Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, as well as Malaysia. And we've had a very fantastic trajectory, and also very blessed with an impressive lineup of investors. So we are backed by SoftBank, Insignia, Sequoia, EDBI, which is a government-backed fund from Singapore. So very fortunate to be in this space, and Asia, given our population size, given how smartphone penetration is going up, this is the right time for tech to really digitize this very traditional industry.
And tell me a bit about your role as Group CMO. You've listed off a bunch of different regions that are very different, and you must struggle with quite unique marketing challenges in each of those regions. Can you tell us a bit about how the Group CMO role works and how you tackle some of those issues?
Sure. So at a group level, my number one role is really to build trust around the brand, because used car market place is not a very trusted space. And this is really where my role, along with my teams, becomes very critical. So building trust is probably one of the hardest things to do, because you can't rush something like trust. You have to build it over time. So my role is really to find the most efficient way to tell the story of the brand, because we have a fantastic story. We are in the right place. We are trying to do right by our customers and also our dealer network. It's to tell the story consistently across Southeast Asia. Secondly is to build the brand awareness based on the business model that we have, because our stakeholders or our customer is not just people like you and I, Tom, who drive cars and maybe want to change cars. Our customers are also small car dealerships. So how do we reach out to them? And given how huge Southeast Asia is, I mean, look at Indonesia, 400 islands. So imagine how fragmented that market is. How do we consistently give our messaging out and connect with them. And a lot of this, even though tech does enable it, it is still a relationship-based industry, and we can't really run away from that. So my role is really to find the best way to build trust, to build awareness, and as people discover the brand and all the different solutions that we have, drive a consideration and also a preference towards our brand compared to the other players out there in the market, and also to delight the customer along the entire customer journey. The best I would say, and the most interesting part of my role is also, even though we are a tech company, half of the journey of the customer happens in the digital platforms, and which is Google, Facebook, programmatic, and the other half of the journey where the actual transaction takes place is offline. It happens either in a used car dealership or it happens at a place the buyer and sellers want to meet. So how do you really translate that customer experience or the brand promise that's made online to really be delivered all the way till the end when the transaction actually takes place?
So we'll come back to Carro a little later on, but we, as usual, have some getting to know you questions. So help us understand Manisha a little better. What is the most useful thing that you've bought for work with your own money, where you've actually put your hand in your own pocket and bought something that you take to the office or you use in a work context?
Okay, I love that question. Actually, nobody's ever asked me that before, Tom. And when I saw the question, I said, "Wow, this is brilliant." So there are two things that I bought with my own money. One is cars. The other one is a camera. Okay, so I'll tell you the camera one first. So I took up photography lessons a couple of years ago. I bought for myself a DSLR camera. And the reason why I say it has been, I'm so glad that I did it, is because it creates an appreciation for abstract, creative, and artwork that we design. Because now in Carro, I don't have the luxury of working with big advertising agency. Everything is done in-house. So I have my own in-house videographer, graphic designer, copywriter. We do everything in-house. And to be able to acquire that skill and really give very concrete and actionable feedback to the team, to me that is really worth its, I would say, its value in gold. So one is camera and that photography lesson. Two is cars. So I actually changed 10 cars in Singapore in the past 14 years. And I guarantee you there are not a lot of people in Singapore who would be able to do that. You have to be literally crazy to do that, given the price tag of cars in Singapore.
Sorry, Manisha, can I just jump in there? Can you help people who don't live in Singapore understand quite how expensive it is to own a car?
Sure. So just for context, a Toyota Vios in Singapore costs the same as a BMW M5 US, plus you would still have a US $10,000 spare change.
Wow.
So yeah. A BMW 6 Series in Singapore costs the same as two BMW i8. You know, the one with the butterfly doors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, you can get two of those in the US. So that is so a Toyota costs about 98 to 100,000 US dollars in Singapore, an entry level Toyota Vios. Yeah, and that is really because our government wants to maintain the number of cars on the roads. That's why if anybody wants to come to Singapore, you would love our roads. The traffic is very well managed because barely 10% of the population drives or owns the car. The rest of them, they either do ride hailing or take the public transport. We have a fantastic public transport in the country. So yeah, so the best thing, second best thing that I bought for myself was the change of cars, 10 cars. And I say that because as an end customer, it allowed me to go through the customer journey from selling my car directly to a used car dealer and then maybe buying from there, selling my next car to an end customer and then doing all the paperwork myself to save some money. Maybe selling my car to a brand new car dealer and then trading in. And I've done this 10 times. So I have been in and out of the various cars, various budgets, various models I've tried. And that has given me I would say, the knowledge that money can't buy. I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't think I would be as passionate about cars as I am currently in my role. And
So you
also,
sound like the kind of worst kind of boss, really. Like not only do you have this really deep level understanding of user experience from every aspect in 10 times over,
absolutely,
you
Tom.
also know how to take a photograph and you can tell a creative what they should be doing. My God.
Exactly.
So,
Absolutely, yeah.
so those things like sound like, despite me teasing, that sounds like a very sensible move. But what's changed recently for you in terms of your belief structure? What new beliefs or behaviours have you brought on board in the past 5 years that have made a significant difference to your work life?
Sure. So I would say the one there are three things there actually. So one critical one that I've come to realize in the past 5 years is the value of time. I think time is probably the most valuable currency we have right now, and the way we choose to spend our time will define pretty much how we see ourselves, how we want to see ourselves in the future. So I'm very cognizant of the way I spend my time, be it spending time with family or friends. I'm very particular of that. So so that also ties me back to another question you'll be asking me later. Is I've also gotten better at saying no to people who I don't think I should be spending time with. So that has improved my quality of life a lot because now I have more time for myself. Uh, and in the past 5 years, I've gotten into a very nice routine of waking up early. So I wake up at 5 a.m. I go and I exercise. Then I walk my dog. I have a huge golden retriever, bless her. Uh, and I would meditate every day, and then I have my breakfast and come to work.
Oh,
And
sounds like the dream.
yeah,
Sounds amazing. But
yeah, sounds like the
so a very,
dream.
very technical question based on that. But
Yeah,
if you get up at 5, what time do you
yes.
finish work and what time do you go to bed?
Well, the thing is, because I've learned to say no to people who I should not be spending my time with, I do have time at hand that I'm able to finish my work pretty much by around 7:30. Even if the work does need me to sort of log back in later, I will still leave office around 7:30. Have my dinner, walk my dog. Uh, uh, After that, just take a quick shower, and I'll be back to work from home. But I am definitely in bed, fast asleep by 11 p.m.
Right, 6 hours sleep. That's
Yes,
not a
at
lot.
least six.
That
Six
is
is
not
six
a lot. Is that
is
enough?
is on a bad day. 6 is on a bad day. 10 is on a good day. So 10 p.m.
Right, brilliant.
don't
Okay,
really I don't really watch TV on weekdays because it affects my sleep quality.
right, great
Yeah.
advice. So apart from saying no to people, getting a dog, meditating,
Yes.
exercising, not watching TV during the week, what advice would you give to people who are just entering the industry now? So, assume a bright, motivated student who's doing all the basics right. What would you say to them if they were considering a career in marketing?
Sure. So I would say marketing is one thing, Tom, but the other thing I would say is automotive industry. Automotive industry is heavily male dominated. So my advice is going more towards the women marketers or the female marketers that if they like cars, if they have an interest in cars, they should not be afraid of joining a male dominated industry. Don't let gender hold you back. And I would love to tell you a little story, Tom, if you have time. Just a quick one.
Yes,
On
please.
when I first uh, got the role at Carro and I went to meet my boss, I actually recommended somebody else to him for this role uh, because somebody who was a bit more had a startup experience. Because if you look at me, my background, I worked in multinationals all my life, so Viva, HSBC, Zurich, the works. I don't have startup experience, and he still decided to go ahead and make the offer to me. So I asked him, why did you decide to hire me? Because I thought I don't have the startup experience. And he said something that initially I was a bit offended with. He said, well, Manisha, I needed somebody who was a bit more rugged. And he said it to me when I was wearing a floral dress with high heels,
Okay.
mascara. And I said, and in my heart, I thought, which part of me looks rugged to you? Then I said, boys are boys. Boys are not good with words. Whatever. And we just had a chat. And I said, okay, well, I'm really excited about the opportunity because I believe, I do believe in the brand and what we're trying to offer to the customer. And then I joined Carro, and being a regional role, I had to travel to Thailand, to Jakarta. I also had to travel up country to, say, Chiang Mai, which is a tier 2 city in Thailand. And really, Tom, that's when I started visiting the used car dealer space. Now, those are family run businesses. People are not very educated, heavily male dominated industry. People look at you and they probably spit here and they spit there. When they're talking, maybe a couple of bad words come out of their mouth as if it's nothing. And that's when I realized the value of the word rugged. Because if had he hired somebody who cannot take the ruggedness of the real world, with a smile on her face, then it would not be easy for a woman to really perform in this role. And I think at that moment I realized I am so glad that he decided to get me because I grew up in India, and India does may give you a couple of hard knocks growing up. You do end up being very rugged all the way, from inside out. Uh, Most women are trained to be very rugged, very you got to take care of yourself, watch out for things. So I think that is my advice to young women who want to get into automotive industry. We don't have enough women in this industry. And if you think that you like cars or you like tech, don't let the gender hold you back. Join the industry, be rugged. You can wear a pretty dress, but in your heart, as long as you're rugged, your mind is rugged, and you can take it. Just join it for the experience. There's so much potential, there's so much to learn. It is really, really priceless. So that would be my advice. Don't let gender hold you back.
Brilliant. That's great advice, and thank you for saying that. So let's have a look towards the end of your career. And you've asked me to ask you my favorite question, which is how do you want people to remember your career? Do you want to be remembered as someone who was rugged but also wore nice clothes, or do you want to be seen as an inspirational leader? Or help me understand how you would like to look back.
Sure. I think at a personal level, I would like to look back as somebody who was an outlier, fearless, somebody who did things differently and challenged the norm. Uh, that is how I would like to be remembered at a personal level. But from my team's perspective, I hope to be remembered as a people developer, somebody who openly shares knowledge and guides the team. One of the things that I do also, Tom, is I lecture. I lecture at universities, at polytechnics, even at, just last week, I was lecturing students, MBA students from St. Gallen University, Switzerland, about innovation and disruption. So I love sharing knowledge. I love sharing my experience. And I love guiding the team to perform better and better. I mean, my team in Singapore, the average age of the team is 24. And they are so young, they're so hungry to learn. I just hope that I'm able to mold them and also my other teams in different markets to really question more, speak up more, and be grow both professionally and personally when they are part of my team.
So for the rest of the podcast, what I'd like to focus on is your shiny new object, which
Yes.
is the subscription economy in Asia. So it's interesting that you've put in Asia on the end of that. I think the people who listen to this podcast should be familiar with the subscription economy and be part of it, if not
Yes.
working for one, or certainly receiving the benefits of one. Could you give us an overview of what the subscription economy is like in Asia, and how it might different to the West?
Sure. So subscription economy in Asia is just picking up. And I was just looking at a very recent report that talked about which are the top countries globally where people expect to subscribe more in the next 2 years. So the top country in the world is actually China, 53%, followed by Spain and Italy. And number 4 was Singapore, say 38%. And after that, all the other countries that sort of follow. So these are the top 10. All the other countries that followed are all US and Europe. So we feel that while Netflix and Spotify is sort of gaining ground in Asia, it is changing behavior a little bit. But the change is really coming from the demographics that embraces subscription. So let's look at millennials, right? Millennials are people who are born from the year 1981 all the way to 1995. And the millennials, Asia, especially China and India, hosts 47% of the world's millennial population. Now, when I say 47%, that is not a small number, Tom. We're talking about 855 million millennials. And based on statistics, come next year, globally, the millennial economy is expected to be worth $1 billion. Sorry, $1 trillion. So that's a big number. And imagine half of those people, or half of that $1 trillion actually sits in Asia. So I'm sharing these numbers because as a tech company, we do look at trends. We do look at how is the economy evolving? What are the new trends? What are the dying trends as well? So car ownership, if you look at India, if you look at Thailand, actually car ownership is steadily on a decline. But we see subscription just in general, which is Spotify, Netflix, seems to be on an increase. If you look at Netflix alone, their investment in Asia has gone up tremendously this year. And the growth that Netflix is enjoying is primarily coming from the paid users from Asia. So now what this tells us is that people are getting used to subscribing to things. Yes, I can't compare. Netflix payment is probably about $17 a month. It's not very expensive, but the idea of not owning something and subscribing to it and then canceling it anytime and then pausing it anytime seems to be something that the millennials love to do. And then we went deeper into this trend and we found that millennials in general, they do not like to own things. They don't like commitment because they are, at least in Asia, they are in debt. Reason being, there's a lot of middle class that is growing in Asia. So people who are probably in smaller cities, they're moving into slightly bigger cities. Education is also enabling that. But while they are earning more than their parents did, the lifestyle is the way that they're living their life, they're spending a lot of money. And also they tend to take on student loans for their school, and they pay it off the moment they start working. So they're uniquely burdened in a way. So they're middle income, but they're not spending like a middle class, and they're a bit in debt. And that is also fueling this entire behavior of, why do I need to own things? I can just use it for a time, and then I can pass it on to the next person. And then millennials in general, they find this whole process being very efficient and green. The only thing that the millennials do want to own, though, is their smartphone. So if you are in the industry of smartphones, nothing to worry about. Millennials will continue buying smartphones. So we look at all these trends, right? So one is the size of the population. Then is the way that the trends are changing, the way their mindset is sort of shaping. We overlay that and we said, why don't we create something new with cars, car ownership? And then we challenged ourselves, and we actually launched in end of March this year, Singapore's first Netflix for cars, which is a subscription-based model where you can, there's no down payment. You just subscribe to a car, you pay on a monthly basis. You can change a car every month as and when you like. You can cancel it anytime. You can upsize, you can downsize. And that has been hugely successful, Tom. That's been hugely successful. So that is our, I would say, our shiny new object is subscription economy, millennials, and how when we launch a subscription service for cars, how it is shaping the way people own cars, which is they don't want to own it. If the new future of car ownership is actually subscription.
So how close to Netflix for cars is it? I know that's an analogy, but can you give us an idea of the user experience? Is it a case of you're swiping through different cars and then you click on one and it gets delivered to you? Tell me how the process works.
Sure. So you just go online at carro.sg, and then you join in. So we launched it first as a wait list. Only 3 days ago, we removed the wait list. So you join it as a wait list. And the moment you join, there's a car selector page that will come up. It will show you all the different cars that we have and the prices per month. The reason we call it Netflix for cars is because you are charged on a monthly basis. So, and you're always pre-charged for the current month. Okay, and you can change the car as and when you like. Of course, there's a bit of a notice period. So you go online, you join, you give us your information, name, email address, phone number, the plan that you're interested, or if you don't know the plan, it's okay, just continue. Select the car that you would like, you click on it, and you say you want to see this car. People still need to come down because nobody, as of now, all our customers still want to see the actual car before they sign on the documents. So that you come down, you see the car, you want to test drive it, go ahead, and then you can just swipe your credit card and off you go. Everything is taken care of in a one flat monthly fees. So there's that covers road tax, insurance, roadside maintenance, all the variable components that come with car ownership. The only thing that our customers need to pay for is usage, which means fuel, parking, and we have something called ERP, electronic road pricing. That's about it. Nothing else.
And what are the usage trends that you're seeing that you could share with us?
Sure. So when we launched it end of March, we already have, as of now, we have 4,000 people on a wait list. We have pushed out 200 cars already on the road. And we are really studying the model very closely because this is so new. We are also learning along the way. But the utility rate has been 100%. So whichever cars that go out, even though we ask the customers that you're welcome to upgrade and downgrade, they don't want to do that, at least not yet. Nobody's done the car yet. I think they tend to get a bit comfortable. But the flexibility is there for them. So yeah, so 200 cars already on the road. Now, Tom, the more this ecosystem grows organically, the more we plan to bring our dealer partners, our dealer network as part of this program. So imagine all the traditional car rental companies who are currently making people sign long-term contracts, making them pay a down payment. All that is going to end over time as this ecosystem evolves and the customer demands more flexibility in terms of their car usage experience.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. It really feels like you're at the start of a revolution, and being the CMO across all of the markets that you mentioned and trying to get that message right. And as you say, you can't rush trust. I thought it was a really nice way of putting it. But I guess in some ways you're going to have to do it as quickly as possible. And I think that's a great challenge. What a fascinating business. And I feel so grateful that you've given up your time, given that you launched yesterday
in Malaysia.
To this podcast. So if someone wanted to get in touch with you, how would you like them to do that?
I'm on LinkedIn. I check it very regularly. So just look for me, Manisha Seewal, Manisha Seewal. Go on LinkedIn, you can find me there. Just connect.
Fantastic. And if you are in Singapore on the 16th to the 17th of October, go to future.today, that's futr.today, and you can see Manisha in person. Thank you so much. I will look forward to seeing you next month. Take care.
Thanks, Tom.